Good day, everyone. My name is Cesar, and for this week, I'm here to present the overview of HCI and its organizational impact. Human computer interaction, or HCI, is not a new concept. It has been around since the 1980s when personal computers became popular. HCI is considered to be a multidisciplinary field. It is easy to see why this is the case from the name itself, human computer. The human part of the equation includes the fields of psychology, sociology, cognitive science, visualization, and many other disciplines centered on the person. The computer aspect includes, but is not limited to, computer science, engineering, animation, and artificial intelligence. Different researchers in the past have given us the conceptual underpinnings of HCI. For instance, HCI interactions can be classified into three: physical, cognitive, and affective. Physical refers to the mechanics of the interaction between the users and the interface. Cognitive refers to how well the user understands the system. And affective refers to the feelings of satisfaction the user experiences when using the interface or the system. The evolution of how human interacts with machines can also be divided into different stages: manual, command line, graphical user interface, network, and natural HCI. In the past, we used the command line interface and moved to graphical user interface, which is still the prevalent type of interface. Nowadays, social media have changed how system interacts, giving more users power and options to connect. Some experts believe that the ultimate goal of HCI is natural HCI. In this scenario, we will be interacting with the machines in a natural way, as if we are interacting with a human. A lot of processes in HCI are geared towards this goal, such as haptic interaction and neural interfaces. Finally, HCI also overlaps with UI and UX, where UI refers to the user interface design and UX refers to user experience. UI should serve UX, hence it is imperative that designers design an exemplary user interface to enhance the user experience. There are many benefits derived from human-computer interaction. One of them is an increase in the productivity of employees. Designers, as much as possible, must make the system intuitive enough so that the time the users spend learning the systems will be less. A good user interface design that follows sound design and psychological principles will lessen the user stress in using the system, thus making its utilization faster and more convenient. HCI also makes systems and interfaces accessible to people with disabilities by allowing them to be productive despite their perceived limitations. For example, someone with a visual impairment can use a page reader. HCI also empowers customers by giving them options that leads to more valuable information. For example, a system that can show prices just by hovering the mouse on an item can provide customers with much needed information to make a purchase decision. At the same time, HCI also enhances business systems for administrators and managers. Through better HCI, summative data can be presented in a flash. For example, a manager can easily pull a sales report from her iPad to decide if a markdown is in order. HCI also allows people to experience systems in different ways. For example, the advent of virtual reality allowed games to interact with the users in an immersive way. We can now send text messages through voice instead of typing. The infusion of AI in HCI will also change the way we deal with our machines. For instance, instead of us initiating the interaction with the machine can now proactively start this interaction. The impact of HCI on organizations will continue to be felt, but in the end, what is important is the degree of finding the right balance between humans, machine, and the level of service required.
Hello everyone, Jimmy here this week to talk about current developments in human-computer interactions. As with previous topics, there are many directions we can go. A couple of items that come to mind just for some research are rehabilitation and psychological exercises. Studies have shown that EEG-based robotics can be used in rehabilitation of patients who have had some difficulties with their actions from either paralysis or strokes and different things like that might occur with them. Also, non-invasive mind control robotics can help people that have body disabilities just accomplish daily tasks such as drinking or eating. Say, for example, if they have issues with their arms, or maybe they've lost an arm, they can maybe get a robotic piece to still be able to carry on normal functions. With psychological exercises such as non-invasive brain stimulation, those have kind of focused on functional recovery and different conditions of patients, mainly those who have had strokes or maybe severe migraines that have caused issues, things along those lines. And a lot of studies have shown where that can have a positive impact on the patient for what they're able to regain. And it's also been shown that these type of activities can have a positive effect on the levels of pain that they face every day. It can also help with bouts of depression because it can bring back and restore some of the functionality they had before. So there's a lot of different ways that HCI can really help improve human quality of life. There's a lot of different ways that the next iteration of HCI can go because it's really across the board, but just to narrow it down to a few here, I think we're going to see some continuation with enhancements within sensors and also actuator technology. And kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier in the previous slide about a wearable robotic arm to help with drinking and eating, those type of things. I think we'll see improvements in that area, and so anybody that has disabilities with hands and arms and things along those lines, they can look forward to research and studies leading to more enhanced mobility out of those devices, and also be able to tie in a little bit more with the cognitive pieces that go along with that to really enhance what somebody's able to do. And that kind of goes along a little bit with soft wearable robots, and this could just be some type of partial suit or some type of small electronic device that maybe they have on their arm, hand, wrist, leg, something along those lines, but just something that can really help with daily activities and walking. We're seeing that stuff come around now, but I think we'll see a lot more of that as the future goes. And then finally, just kind of talking about with all the different enhancements that these machines can help is with a robot exoskeleton, and just something that can possibly be a wearable suit or a robot suit or something along those lines that can just assist with motion and also assist with daily activities. This may be something that you could see come from home-based improvement therapy. You may see something where construction workers or people that have to do dangerous jobs may be wearing suits that can help them do that, move heavier objects, work in a safer environment, and things along those lines. So there's just a lot of different areas that this really can go, and that's just to kind of name a few that I see that we're going to have evolution in over the next several years.
So this is Jeremy Brill. My portion of Team 6 presentation this time is around opportunities for academic research, and there are a lot of them. So 4 that I found particularly interesting. The first is EEG, so non-invasive electroencephalography. Say that three times fast. That with a brain-computer interface. So basically, if you can imagine electrodes on like a harness on your head, so that it can read the electrical signals going on in your head. So there's been a lot of advances using that type of a harness, that EEC or EEG, based technology in medical research. So particularly with paralyzed folks, I mean, they can still think, right? So if you can translate those electrical impulses into a method to communicate to a computer, I mean, you can control a robot. You could, I mean, the possibilities are pretty limitless, and that's advanced quite a bit. So I found that really interesting. There were a few, not a lot, but a few of really intriguing articles I found on human-computer interface design language. So this is actually generating a language, computer programming language, to help you design new multimodal interfaces. And by multimodal, I mean a combination of things. So like gestures, as an example, those can be multimodal in nature. So a lot of the controls you have on your smartphone, like shaking it or something like that, could also be or fall into that category. And speaking of your smartphone, a lot of times those are combined, right? So maybe you've got speech plus a tap or something like that. So hybrid interfaces are expanding pretty quickly as well. So that's the ability to combine those interfaces. Oftentimes it is something to do with speech. Maybe speech and a gesture combined to control your TV, as an example, would be hybrid interfaces. Lots of research going on there. And then the final, and in a lot of ways I believe the most interesting, is security around these, particularly around anything tuned to an individual. So if you tune, for instance, your facial gestures or the way you walk or something like that to be recognizable enough by a computer that it can take action upon it, then you've also trained it to recognize you. So if you think about all the security that at that point that in a security context, that becomes personally identifiable information. That is, you can now be identified based on that bit of data. So in this case, say it's the way you're walking or the way you do a certain gesture. And all then the controls, the PII related privacy controls, really then need to be in place around that data. And that can be really interesting. For instance, say when you talk to Siri, your phone doesn't process what you say. Your phone sends that information to California to be processed, and then a big computer system there processes, sends back to Siri, to your local Siri, your phone, what to do. So obviously you're sending all that PII over the phone, over the internet. And in that situation, it's actually what you're saying, and to be able to understand what you're saying, then it can queue off locally. So like, hey Siri, that can be a local function, but it's listening all the time. So that's another issue. So there are a lot of privacy concerns around a lot of these new interfaces that would be really interesting research.